The Sorrowsworn are embodiments of extremely negative emotions, and they may have been created by either the Shadowfell or by the Shadowfell influencing people in that plane of existence and warping and twisting them. I talked to Adam Lee about what makes these creatures so disturbing.
The Sorrowsworn, they are, there is much debate about how Sorrowsworn are created. Some say that they coalesce out of the energies and misery that is in the Shadowfell. Others have posited that Sorrowsworn are people who have been in the Shadowfell for a long enough time, and they are slowly mutated. They are people who have terrible anger and rage. And as they stay in the Shadowfell, the energy of that realm mutates them and warps them into something like the Sorrowsworn, the angry, or the Sorrowsworn, the hungry. So each one of these, the angry, the hungry, the lost, they're all sort of manifestations of these heavy-duty emotions that are prevalent, and either the Shadowfell magnifies them and warps these people, or that the Shadowfell just spontaneously generates that from the energy that kind of trickles down from the prime material plane into the Shadowfell. So these creatures each sort of manifest one of those emotions or those appetites. And when you encounter a Sorrowsworn, you're encountering a relentless force. You're encountering something that is pure hunger or pure anger. And in dealing with them, the DM can create some of these fun sort of stories around them. Like the angry, if you don't attack it, you don't provoke further attacks from it. But if you attack an angry, it will actually get advantage, and it will then you're playing into its hand. A lost is just sort of wandering around, and it's trying to find its way, and it's desperately clawing at you to try to, it's like a drowning man, it's going to cling to you and try to pull you down. Others like the Wretched, which if you ever saw Mordenkainen's Mayhem, I played Moloch, and Emmy played the Sybriacs, which we'll talk about in a bit. As Moloch, I was attacked by a ton of the Wretched. And the Wretched are just basically these horrible, life-stealing monsters that attack in packs. So they will cling to you and just suck your life force out. And they can take down very large monsters, as was evident in Mordenkainen's Mayhem. And I'm still stinging from that defeat. But that being said, the Wretched, yes, single Wretched by themselves, kind of wimpy, kind of a little jerk. Lots of them together, they can devastate you. So the hungry, they're just these sort of ravenous. They just have endless hunger, and they're attracted by life force. So if somebody's getting healed, or if you're in the Shadowfell and you're casting healing spells and things like that, you might be able to attract one of these hungry Sorrowsworn, and they'll come creeping after you and then try to devour your life force. We were talking about the Shadowfell and just what it is as a plane, like what created this plane, and it's sort of this negative energy world. It's dark. It's filled with sorrow and sadness, and one of the ideas we were playing with is like the Feywild. Fey creatures, some of them, are manifestations of emotions, but we were like, well, what if in the Shadowfell, you have what happens when hunger becomes an actual thing, sort of the Shadar Kai became these sort of gloomy, morose sort of people because of what happened to the Raven Queen. When the Raven Queen fell, the Shadar Kai fell with her, and through her sort of loss of the connection with the elven sort of pantheon, she was kind of, this really sad, sorrowful, and the Shadowfell was, whether she chose the Shadowfell or the Shadowfell chose her is kind of up for debate, who knows. But when we were thinking about the Shadowfell, it's just like, oh man, it's just such a heavy place. What if that heaviness coalesced actually into a physical being? Or what if you stay in the Shadowfell for a long enough time, do you actually begin to warp? Does the Shadowfell actually affect who you are? And for me personally, when I was thinking about it, it's like, yeah, if I stay in a heavy mood too long, it's like it starts to actually, could it actually affect how I physically am? It's like my shoulders get hunched, I get down, I feel like gray, and then, but if I was to take that to an extreme, then I could turn into a Sorrowsworn. So it's like playing with that idea of consciousness and energy warping the physical being, and consciousness and energy generating something from nothing. And to me, the Shadowfell is a magical realm, has the potency and potential to do something like that. So when we were, jamming on the Sorrowsworn, that was kind of the cool thing that kind of came out of that.
Thank you, Adam Lee, for being on D&D Beyond. We are the official digital tool set for 5th edition D&D. I'm Todd Kenrick, your host. Thank you for watching.